The vast Kalathi fleet moved through space like deadly silver insects, their crystalline ships catching starlight and throwing it back in sharp, cold flashes. Supreme Commander Thekvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, his 4 eyes studying the small blue planet that slowly turned on the holographic display before him. Earth, the humans called it. Such a simple name for what would soon become another conquered world in the great Kalathi Empire. Commander, his second in command, Veltash, clicked her mandibles together in what passed for laughter among their species. The intelligence reports are almost insulting. This human species has only achieved basic space travel. Their weapons are primitive chemical explosives and simple energy beams. Their largest warship is smaller than our scout vessels. Their attention remained fixed on the slowly rotating planet. In his 300 years of military service, he had overseen the conquest of 47 different worlds. Each time, it followed the same pattern. The Kalathi fleet would arrive, demonstrate their overwhelming superiority, and the primitive species would surrender within days. Sometimes hours. It was efficient, clean, and profitable for the Empire. How many ships do they possess? He asked, though he already knew the answer. 57 operational vessels, Commander. Our fleet numbers 200 of the finest ships in the Kalathi Navy. The engagement will be over before it begins. Veltash gestured to the tactical display, where red dots showed the positions of human vessels scattered throughout their solar system. They appear to be attempting some form of defensive positioning around their outer planets. Quite pathetic, really. The bridge crew buzzed with quiet conversation, their alien voices mixing into a sound like wind through crystal caves. None of them showed concern about the upcoming battle. Why would they? The Kalathi had never lost a conquest. Their technology was superior, their tactics proven, their victory inevitable. Thekvar moved to the observation deck and gazed out at the stars. Behind him, his fleet stretched for thousands of kilometers, each ship a masterpiece of Kalathi engineering. Energy weapons that could crack planets, shields that could deflect the fury of suns, and armies of warriors trained from birth for conquest. The humans, by comparison, were barely more advanced than the primitive tool-using species the Kalathi had encountered on dozens of other worlds. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we are receiving multiple transmissions from the human vessels. They appear to be attempting to establish contact." "Ignore them, Var replied without turning from the window. "We will speak to them when we are ready. Let them see our power first. Fear makes surrender much easier." On the far side of the solar system, Captain Parkday stood on the bridge of the human ship Harmony, watching the alien fleet through his view screen. The enemy vessels were beautiful in their own terrifying way, like deadly works of art drifting through space. But Park had spent his life studying military history, and he could see something in their formation that troubled him. "Lieutenant Kim," he said to his communications officer, "are you getting anything from their fleet?" "No, sir," Kim Nari replied, her fingers dancing over her console. "They're ignoring all our attempts at contact. They're just ... sitting there like they're waiting for something." Park nodded grimly. "They're waiting for us to be afraid. Look at their formation, Lieutenant. Perfect spacing, textbook positioning, no variation at all. They fight like they've done this exact same thing 100 times before." "Is that bad, sir?" "It means they've never met anyone who fought back." Back on the Kalathi flagship, Thekvar was reviewing the final battle plans with his senior officers. The holographic display showed the human solar system with attack routes marked in glowing lines. "Phase 1, Thekvar explained, pointing to the outer planets. "We destroy their defensive positions around the gas giants. This will demonstrate our superiority and likely cause immediate surrender. If not, Phase 2 involves orbital bombardment of their military facilities on the homeworld. Phase 3, if somehow necessary, will be full planetary occupation." Commander interrupted the tactical officer. "The humans appear to be moving. Their ships? They're retreating toward their asteroid belt." Veltash laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Of course they are. They've seen our fleet and realized the hopelessness of their situation. Shall we pursue and finish this quickly?" Thekvar considered this. In all his years of conquest, He had seen this pattern before. The primitive species would see the Kalathi fleet, understand they were outmatched, and either surrender immediately or make some token gesture of resistance before giving up. The humans were clearly choosing the latter option. No, he decided. Let them run to their asteroid field. It will make our victory more complete when we crush them there. Besides, there is nowhere for them to go. Their entire species exists in this one system. What Dekvar did not understand, what his species had never learned in their thousands of years of easy conquests, was that humans did not retreat to surrender. They retreated to prepare. And in the asteroid belt of the Sol system, 57 human warships were preparing to teach the Kalathi Empire a lesson about what happened when you underestimated the species that had turned warfare into an art form. The trap was being set, and the hunters were about to become the hunted. The alien message arrived on every human communication channel at exactly 0800 hours, transmitted simultaneously across Earth's entire network. The voice that spoke was cold and mechanical, filtered through translation software that made it sound even more inhuman. Primitive species of the third planet, the voice announced without emotion. You will surrender your world to the Kalathi hegemony. Your military forces will stand down. Your leaders will present themselves for processing. You have 24 of your planetary rotations to comply. Resistance will result in complete extermination. The transmission ended as suddenly as it had begun. Leaving silence across Earth's command centers, Admiral Lee Hoon sat in the emergency meeting room deep beneath Sol, surrounded by the holographic images of Earth's military leaders from around the globe. The alien fleet hung in space beyond Jupiter like a cluster of deadly stars, their crystalline ships reflecting the distant sun. 200 ships, Lee said quietly, studying the tactical display. Our best estimates put their individual vessels at 3 times the size of our largest battleships. Energy weapons we don't understand, shielding technology beyond our current capabilities. General Rodriguez from the Americas leaned forward in his chair. Admiral, with respect, are we even considering their offer? The casualties from a direct engagement would be catastrophic. What offer? Captain Songharan interrupted from her position aboard the battleship Indomitable. They didn't make an offer, General. They made a demand. Serve or die.
Those are not the words of a species interested.
In negotiation, Director Kim Min-jun from Earth's Intelligence pulled up a new display showing detailed scans of the alien vessels. Our analysis of their fleet formation suggests they've done this many times before. Standard siege positioning, no variation from textbook military doctrine. They expect us to surrender immediately upon seeing their superior numbers. Maybe we should, muttered Defense Minister Yang from his secure bunker. If they've conquered dozens of worlds, they must have some system for managing occupied territories. Perhaps we could know. The voice belonged to Captain Parkday, whose image flickered slightly due to the long-range transmission from his ship near the asteroid belt. Sir, with respect, these aliens aren't here to manage us. Look at their history. They arrive, they conquer, they strip the world of resources, and move on. The species they've conquered before don't exist anymore. Lee nodded grimly. Captain Park is correct. Our intelligence suggests the Kalathi have absorbed 47 different civilizations. None of those species maintain independent governments or territories. They've all been ... integrated. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Integration meant the end of humanity as an independent species. Captain Han So-young, commander of the destroyer Defiance, spoke up from her position near Mars. Admiral, I've been studying their approach patterns. They're treating this like a routine operation. It's perfect formations. No scouting of our actual capabilities. No attempt to understand our tactical doctrine. They expect us to fold immediately. Are you suggesting, Captain? Lee asked. I'm suggesting they've never fought anyone who fought back, sir. Every species they've conquered surrendered when they saw the Kalathi fleet. They don't know how to handle actual resistance. Dr. Lim Sujin, Earth's leading expert on alien technology, activated her own display showing intercepted Kalathi communications. Captain Han is right. We've been monitoring their internal transmissions. They're discussing victory celebrations, resource allocation, processing centers for human populations. They're not planning for a war, Admiral. They're planning for an Occupation that starts tomorrow. Then we give them something they're not planning for, Lee said decisively. Captain Park, what's the status of our fleet positioning? Park's weathered face showed a grim smile. All 57 ships are in position, Admiral. We've spread ourselves throughout the asteroid belt, using the larger rocks for cover. The Calathi are maintaining their siege formation around Jupiter, probably expecting us to come out and meet them in open space for an honorable battle. Honorable battles are for species that can afford to lose, Lee replied. What do you recommend? We don't fight their kind of war, sir. We fight our kind. Humans have been perfecting warfare for thousands of years. We know things about combat that these aliens have never had to learn because no one ever forced them to. Captain Song Haren's voice crackled through the communication system. Admiral, our ships might be smaller and less advanced, but we have advantages they don't expect. We know this system better than they do. We know how to use every planet, every asteroid, every gravitational field as a weapon. And most importantly, we know how to take casualties and keep fighting. The alien fleet hung in space, beautiful and terrible, waiting for humanity's surrender. Their crews prepared for another easy victory, another species added to their empires.
Collection. They had sent their message and expected compliance within hours. As always happened, what they received instead was a reply from Admiral Lee Haon, transmitted on all frequencies so every Calathi ship would hear it clearly.
This is Admiral Lee of the United Earth Defense Force. We have received your ultimatum. Here's our response. No, Earth will not surrender. Earth will not serve. If you want our world, you'll have to take it from us. We are ready. The transmission ended, and across the solar system, 57 human warships prepared to teach the Calathi Empire what humans meant when they said they were ready. The battle began at dawn, Earth time, when the Calathi fleet moved from their positions around Jupiter toward the inner solar system. Supreme Commander Vikvar expected to find the human ships waiting in neat formation, ready for an honorable but brief engagement that would end with their surrender. Instead, his sensors showed empty space. Where are they? Vikvar demanded, his 4 eyes scanning the tactical displays. The asteroid belt stretched before them like a field of floating rocks, but the human fleet had vanished completely. Sir, our long-range scanners detect metal signatures throughout the asteroid field, reported his tactical officer. The humans appear to be hiding behind the larger rocks. Subcommander Veltosh clicked her mandibles in disgust. Cowards. They refuse to face us in open combat. Shall we blast them out of their hiding places? Before Vikvar could answer, space around them exploded into chaos. The first human ship appeared from behind a massive asteroid, without warning. The vessel looked small and damaged compared to the gleaming Calathi warships, its hull scarred with battle marks and hasty repairs. But Captain Jung Minho of the Defiance wasn't aiming at the alien ships. Instead, he fired everything he had at the asteroid itself. The explosion was tremendous. Chunks of rock the size of buildings flew through space at incredible speed, slamming into 3 Calathi vessels before their shields could adapt. The impact sent the alien ships spinning out of formation, their perfect lines broken for the first time in the battle. Impossible, Vikvar breathed. They're using their own system as ammunition. More human ships appeared like ghosts from behind asteroids and small moons. Each one employed tactics the Calathi had never seen before. Captain Song Haren used Jupiter's massive gravity to slingshot her ship around the planet at tremendous speed, appearing behind the Calathi formation and laying mines in her wake before disappearing again behind another moon. The aliens tried to respond with their superior weapons, but the humans refused to stay still long enough to be targeted. They used every piece of floating debris as cover, every gravitational field as a weapon. Every advantage their home system could provide. Captain Parkday watched the battle unfold from his command ship hidden deep in the asteroid belt. His communications. Officer Lieutenant Kim Nari coordinated with ships across the field as they executed the most desperate plan in human military history. Captain, Kim reported, the Wolverine is making her attack run now. On the main screen, they watched as Captain Yoon Jae-soon piloted his ship directly toward the Calathi flagship. The alien vessel's weapons lit up space as they tried to stop him, but Yoon had already evacuated his crew to escape pods. The ship was on autopilot now, its nuclear reactor set to overload on impact. All crew, this is Captain Yoon. His voice crackled over the communication system. It has been an honor serving with you. Tell Earth we made them pay for every meter. The explosion when the Wolverine struck the flagship was visible from Mars, the massive Calathi vessel. Damaged beyond repair, tumbled out of formation trailing atmosphere and debris. Sir. The Calathi tactical officer's voice cracked with panic as he watched the impossible scene unfold. These humans are destroying their own ships to damage ours. Their captain just killed himself to hurt us. Dekwa stared at the tactical display in growing horror. In 300 years of conquest, he had never encountered anything like this. Species that fought honorably. Species that surrendered quickly. Species that begged for mercy, but never a species. It seemed perfectly willing to die just to hurt their enemies. Another human ship. The Spartan commanded by Lieutenant Commander the Young-Ho came screaming out of the asteroid field at maximum speed. Half its hull was missing from previous battles, but its weapons were still firing. The ship rammed directly into a Calathi cruiser, both vessels disappearing in a ball of fire that lit up the surrounding space. Commander Veltosh's voice was high with fear. We've lost 8 ships in the first engagement. 8 ships. A species we thought was primitive. The truth was becoming clear to Dekvar. The humans weren't primitive. They were something far more dangerous. They were experienced. While the Calathi had spent centuries conquering species that surrendered. Quickly, humans had spent their entire history learning how to fight each other. They understood warfare in ways the Calathi had never needed to learn. Captain. Han Soyoung's destroyer emerged from behind a spinning chunk of metal, its weapons targeting not the Calathi ships, but the debris around them.
Ow.
The explosion sent a shower of metal fragments across space like a deadly cloud, forcing the alien vessels to break formation to avoid the improvised shrapnel. They're not fighting a space battle, Dekvar realized with growing dread. They're fighting a war. They're treating every rock, every piece of debris, every gravitational field as part of their arsenal. Down on Earth, the response was immediate when news of the space battle reached the surface. Every human with access to any kind of weapon received the same message from their government. If they get past our ships, make them pay for every street, every building, every room. Grandmother Oh Moong-suk, 83 years old, cleaned her hunting rifle and took position at her apartment window. Her grandson, Kim Taemin, barely 16, helped her set up communication equipment. If the aliens made it to the surface, they would find that every human civilian was now a soldier. The battle for Earth had only just begun. 3 weeks after the space battle began, Commander Veltosh led the first Calathi ground assault on Earth. She chose the Korean Peninsula as her landing site, expecting the flat terrain and organized cities to make conquest simple and quick. Her ships descended through the atmosphere like falling stars, carrying 10,000 of the Empire's finest warriors. What she found waiting for her was unlike anything in Calathi military history. The humans didn't just fight with soldiers. Families had become combat units. As Veltosh's troops moved through the city of Seoul, they found themselves under attack from every building, every window, every rooftop. Grandmother Oh Moong-suk had turned her small apartment into a sniper nest, her hunting rifle picking off alien scouts from 8 floors up, while her grandson Kim Taemin coordinated drone attacks through his gaming computer. This is impossible, Veltosh reported to the fleet overhead, her voice tight with frustration. We're not fighting an army. We're fighting an entire population. A human family unit just destroyed one of our armored vehicles using explosives hidden inside children's toys. The Calathi had expected to face Earth's military forces in organized battles with clear front lines and predictable tactics. Instead, they found themselves fighting a war where every civilian was a potential enemy, every building a fortress, and every street a trap. Captain Seo Yoonjin had been a factory engineer before the invasion. Now she commanded a resistance cell that had converted 3 manufacturing plants into weapons factories. Using captured Calathi technology and human engineering skills, her team was producing hybrid weapons that combined alien energy systems with human design concepts. "Ma'am," reported Lieutenant Bae Young-ho, ducking as another explosion shook their underground bunker. "The aliens are adapting to our urban warfare tactics, but slowly. Every time they change their strategy, we change. Hours faster." Seo smiled grimly as she examined the latest weapon her team had created, a Calathi plasma rifle modified with human targeting systems and powered by a car battery. That's because they've never had to adapt before. Every species they conquered gave up quickly. They don't know how to fight a long war. Above ground, the battle raged through every district of the city. Park Min-jun, a taxi driver who had become an explosives expert overnight, led a team of former office workers in hit-and-run attacks against Calathi supply convoys. They would strike from the subway tunnels, disappear into the maze of underground passages, and emerge miles away to strike again. The aliens tried to establish secure zones, but the humans made security impossible. Children who looked innocent would approach Calathi checkpoints with backpacks full of explosives. Elderly people would offer food that was actually poison. Every gesture of surrender was potentially a trap. "Commander," one of Veltash's officers, reported, his voice shaking, "we've lost 30% of our ground forces in 3 weeks. The humans are using tactics we've never encountered. They hide weapons in hospitals, schools, even their places of worship. Nothing is off limits to them." Dr. Lim Soo-jin, working from a hidden laboratory beneath the city, had made a crucial discovery while studying captured Calathi equipment and prisoners. She transmitted her findings to Admiral Lee's command bunker using a network of hidden communication. "Devices, Admiral, I've learned something important about our enemies," she reported, her voice crackling through the encrypted channel. "The Calathi have never fought a real war. For 3,000 years, they've only conquered primitive species that surrendered quickly. Their entire military doctrine is based on overwhelming force leading to immediate surrender. They literally don't know how to fight a species that refuses to give up." This information changed everything about Earth's resistance strategy. If the aliens had never fought a long war, they wouldn't know how to handle the psychological pressure of constant attacks, unpredictable enemies, and mounting casualties. Captain Jung Minho, whose ship had been destroyed in the space battle, now led a ground unit that specialized in capturing Calathi weapons and vehicles. His team had learned to use the aliens' own technology against them, turning their energy weapons on their creators and using captured vehicles to infiltrate alien positions. "The beauty of it," Jung explained to his team as they prepared for another raid, "is that they expect us to fight like them. Organized formations, clear objectives, honorable tactics. When we fight like humans, dirty, creative, and desperate, they don't know how to respond." Meanwhile, in space, the battle continued to rage. Captain Park Day's surviving ships had grown from 57 to over 100. As Earth's shipyards worked around the clock to build new vessels using captured alien technology, the hybrid ships combined human creativity with Calathi power systems, creating weapons the aliens had never seen before. Lieutenant Kim Nari reported from her position on the bridge of the new battleship Revenge. "Our analysis shows the Calathi fleet has been reduced to less than half their original strength. They're requesting reinforcements from their home systems." Park studied the tactical display showing the positions of both fleets. The aliens were still powerful, but for the first time since the invasion began, they looked uncertain. "They're perfect. Formations had been broken by human tactics they couldn't predict or counter." "Good," Park said grimly. "Let them call for help. By the time reinforcements arrive, we'll be ready to show them what happens when you kick a hornet's nest. The hornets don't just sting once, they keep stinging until the threat is gone." The war for Earth was far from over, but humanity was, teaching the galaxy's greatest conquerors a lesson they would never forget. 6 months after the Calathi invasion began, Supreme Commander Thekver stared at tactical displays that told a story his species had never experienced before. Of his original fleet of 200 mighty warships, only 28 remained operational. The rest floated as debris throughout the human solar system. Destroyed by an enemy that should have surrendered on the first day, the humans had not only survived, but grown stronger. Their fleet now numbered over 300 vessels, each one a hybrid of human engineering and captured Kalathi technology. The ships looked different from anything either species had built before, angular human designs powered by alien energy, systems creating weapons that were both familiar and terrifyingly new. Captain Parkday, now promoted to Admiral of the United Earth Navy, stood on the bridge of his flagship Indomitable, watching the remaining Kalathi vessels try to maintain formation near Jupiter. His communications officer, Commander Kim Nari, monitored the alien transmissions with growing satisfaction. "Admiral," she reported, "the Kalathi are trying to contact their home system again. They're requesting immediate evacuation and full fleet reinforcement." Park smiled coldly. "Make sure they can't get that message through. I want them to understand what it feels like to be cut off and alone." On the surface of Earth, the ground war had turned into a complete disaster for the Kalathi forces. Sub-Commander Veltosh crouched in the ruins of what had once been her command post, surrounded by the handful of troops she had left. The humans had turned every city block into a fortress, every building into a weapon, every civilian into a soldier. "Commander," one of her officers whispered, "we have maybe 200 troops left from the original 10,000. The humans have captured most of our equipment and are using it against us. They've learned to operate our technology better than some of our own soldiers." Captain Seo Yunjin's resistance fighters had indeed mastered Kalathi technology with frightening speed. Her underground factories now produce weapons that combine the best of both species' capabilities. She led her team through the subway tunnels beneath Seoul, planning the final assault on the alien positions. Remember, she told her fighters, "These invaders came here expecting us to surrender. They thought we would beg for mercy and accept slavery. Instead, we're going to show them what humans do to species that threaten our home." In space, the final battle was about to begin. Admiral Park had positioned his fleet in a perfect sphere around the remaining Kalathi ships, cutting off every escape route. The alien vessels sat trapped like insects in a web, their once mighty formation reduced to a desperate cluster of survivors. "All ships, this is Admiral Park," he announced over the communication network. 6 months ago, these aliens came to our system expecting an easy conquest. They thought we were primitive and weak. Today, we show them what humanity really is. Thekvar received one final transmission from the human fleet before the attack began. Admiral Park's image appeared on his screen, the human's face calm, but determined. Commander Thekvar Park said, "Your invasion has failed, your fleet is destroyed, your ground forces are defeated. I'm offering you one chance to surrender and leave our system alive. Refuse, and we will finish what you started." His pride warred with his growing fear. In 300 years of military service, he had never surrendered to anyone. He had also never faced an enemy like humanity, a species that turned every disadvantage into a weapon, every defeat into a lesson, every battle into an opportunity to grow stronger. "Human," he replied, "even if you defeat us here, the Kalathi. Empire spans 47 systems. Other fleets will come, cannot fight us all." Park's expression didn't change. "Commander, in the past 6 months, we've reverse-engineered your technology, captured your star charts, and learned the locations of every world in your empire. We know which systems are heavily defended and which are vulnerable. If more Kalathi fleets come to Earth, we'll visit every one of your worlds and show them what we learned from your invasion." The final assault lasted exactly 17 minutes. Captain Song Haren led the attack with her hybrid battleship Unstoppable, its weapons, systems combining human creativity with alien power. The Kalathi ships, designed for fighting primitive enemies, couldn't adapt quickly enough to the hybrid technology that seemed to anticipate their every defensive move. One by one, the remaining alien vessels were disabled or destroyed. The flagship, the last ship still fighting, finally lost power and drifted helplessly as human vessels surrounded it. Dr. Lim Soo-jin, working from her laboratory on Earth, completed her analysis of the captured Kalathi navigation systems and communication networks. She transmitted her findings to Admiral Park with barely contained excitement. "Admiral, We have complete star charts for the entire Kalathi Empire. 47 systems, including their homeworld. But here's the interesting part. We've been monitoring their internal communications. 26 of their colony worlds have already declared independence from the Empire. They've heard about what happened here, and they're refusing to send more fleets to fight us. Park studied the star charts thoughtfully. The Kalathi Empire was crumbling, not from external attack, but from the example humanity had set. Other conquered species were remembering what it meant to fight back. Send a message to the Kalathi homeworld, Park ordered. Tell them that Earth offers peace to those who leave us alone and war to those who don't. The choice is theirs. The age of easy conquest was over. Humanity had taught the galaxy a lesson that would echo across the stars.